The air in Randall's office was cold, sterile, like the man himself. The massive floor-to-ceiling windows behind him displayed a breathtaking city skyline, but I couldn't appreciate it. Not when my entire future hung in the balance. I stood in front of his polished mahogany desk, hands clenched, heart pounding. The sharp scent of his cologne mixed with the aroma of fresh coffee, but the bitterness in my mouth had nothing to do with the caffeine. Randall leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled, his expression unreadable. "You have a choice to make, Hannah," he said smoothly, his deep voice devoid of any emotion. "You either stay and finish the project or you walk out that door and never come back." I felt the ground shift beneath me as if reality itself had warped. My breath came out shaky. "Sir, my mother had a stroke. She's in the ICU. I just need a few days." "No," he cut me off without hesitation. "I can't afford for my best project manager to disappear in the middle of a major deal." I swallowed hard. My mind reeled. I had worked at Randall Enterprises for 7 years. 7 years of sacrificing weekends, missing birthdays, putting work before my personal life. And now, when I needed just a little compassion, I was being tossed aside like yesterday's news. I tried again, softer this time. "I've never asked for special treatment, sir. But this is my mother. I just need a little time." Randall sighed, rubbing his temples like I was a headache he couldn't get rid of. "And I just need my project delivered on time. We all have responsibilities, Hannah." I clenched my fists tighter, my nails digging into my palms. "So, you're telling me that after all these years I'm not even worth a few days off?" He shrugged. "It's not personal. It's business." That was the moment I knew. I wasn't a valued employee. I was just another cog in his machine. Replaceable. Disposable. A bitter laugh escaped me. "Wow. After everything I've done for this company, this is how it ends." He didn't even flinch. "Like I said, if you leave, consider your resignation accepted." Silence stretched between us. I should have begged. I should have compromised. I should have tried to keep my career afloat. Instead, I straightened my spine and said, "Then I quit." Randall smirked, leaning forward slightly. He thought I was bluffing. That I'd come crawling back in a few days, desperate, apologetic. "Are you sure?" he asked, voice laced with smug amusement. "Because once you walk out of here, there's no coming back." I met his gaze, my voice firm. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." His smirk faltered. Without another word, I turned and walked to the door. My heels clicked against the polished marble floor. My pulse roared in my ears. When I reached the threshold, I hesitated for just a second. Then, without looking back, I walked out. My coworkers stared as I strode past their desks. Some looked shocked. Others avoided eye contact, afraid of being associated with me. A few, like Lisa, gave me a small nod of respect. I stepped into the elevator, the heavy doors sliding shut behind me. As I descended, reality crashed over me. I was jobless. I had no backup plan. But as I thought about Randall's smug face, his absolute certainty that I would fail without him, a slow, determined fire ignited in my chest. I wasn't just walking away from a job. I was walking toward a war. The moment I stepped out of Randall Enterprises' glass doors, the cool evening air hit me, sharp and unforgiving. The city buzzed around me. Cars honking, people chattering, life moving forward as if my entire world hadn't just flipped upside down. I had just quit my job. No safety net. No backup plan. But I had no regrets. The Uber ride to the hospital was a blur. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through my phone, staring at my bank balance. Enough for maybe 2 months if I was careful. Not great, but not catastrophic. Yet, the real catastrophe was lying in a hospital bed on the 3rd floor of St. Luke's Medical Center. As soon as I stepped into my mother's room, the beeping machines and sterile hospital air pushed everything else out of my mind. She looked so small, so fragile. The woman who had raised me alone, who had worked 2 jobs to put me through college, who had sacrificed everything for me. Now she was hooked up to machines, fighting to stay alive. A lump rose in my throat as I took her hand. "I'm here, Mom," I whispered, squeezing her fingers gently. She didn't respond. The doctors had said she was stable but weak. A stroke had taken its toll and recovery would be slow. She needed physical therapy, medications, constant monitoring. And all of that required money. Money I no longer had. I sat beside her for hours, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. My mind kept circling back to the same question. What now? I had no job. No steady income. No way to pay the hospital bills piling up by the second. Randall thought he had backed me into a corner. But he had underestimated me. By the time the sun began to rise, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to find another job. I was going to build my own empire. And I was going to destroy his in the process. Starting a business from scratch wasn't going to be easy. But I wasn't exactly walking in blind. I had worked for Randall for 7 years. I knew everything about his company, his clients, his suppliers, his strengths, and more importantly, his weaknesses. Randall Enterprises was an industry giant, but it had one fatal flaw: arrogance. Randall treated his clients like they needed him, not the other way around. He overcharged them. He ignored their concerns. He assumed loyalty was guaranteed. I had been the one who maintained those client relationships. I knew what they wanted. And now I was going to give it to them. I grabbed my laptop and started making a list. 1. Key clients. Who were Randall's biggest accounts? Which ones had complained the most about his service? 2. Former colleagues. Who inside the company was unhappy? Who would be willing to leave and join me? 3. Market gaps. What could I offer that Randall wasn't? What was my competitive advantage? I spent the next 2 days making calls, reaching out to old colleagues and researching potential investors. The first call I made was to Lisa. Lisa had been with Randall Enterprises even longer than I had. She was one of the best marketing executives in the industry, but she was underpaid, overworked, and constantly overlooked for promotions. When she picked up, she sounded exhausted. "Hannah, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "I will be," I said. "But I have a question for you. If I started my own company, something fresh, something innovative, would you be interested?" Silence. Then Lisa let out a slow, almost relieved laugh. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." He didn't hesitate. "Then I'm in." I exhaled, relief washing over me. Lisa was my first recruit. Within the next few days I had 2 more. Michael, one of the best salespeople Randall had, and Priya, a financial analyst who had been quietly searching for a way out. 3 people wasn't much, but it was a start. We met in my tiny apartment, sitting around my kitchen table with coffee and notepads, mapping out our strategy. Lisa tapped her pen against the table. "We need a name. Something bold. Something that makes people take notice." I thought about it for a moment. "Nova Consulting." Michael raised an eyebrow. "Nova, like a star exploding?" I nodded. "Exactly. We're not just starting a company. We're making an impact. We're going to burn brighter than anything Randall has ever seen." A slow grin spread across Lisa's face. "I like it." And just like that, Nova Consulting was born. Starting a business wasn't just about having a name and a team. We needed clients. Randall had controlled the market for years, but he had made a mistake. He took his clients for granted. I still had contacts. I knew which companies were unhappy with his services. So I made my first big move. Jackson and Company was one of Randall's biggest clients. They brought in millions in revenue, but Randall treated them like they were just another name on a contract. I had worked closely with their CEO, Mr. Jackson, for years. He respected me, trusted me, so I set up a meeting. When I walked into Jackson's office, he raised an eyebrow. "Hannah, I heard you left Randall. What's this about?" I took a deep breath. "It's about a better deal." I laid everything out, how Nova Consulting was different. How we were agile, flexible, and willing to put clients first. How we weren't just another corporation, we were partners. Jackson listened. And when I finished, he leaned back in his chair and smiled. "You've got guts, Hannah." I held my breath. "Let's give it a try." Just like that, we had our first major client. The moment I walked out of that office, my phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Randall just found out about our company. He's furious." I smiled. "Good. Let the war begin." The moment Jackson and Company signed with Nova Consulting, the game changed. Randall had underestimated me. He thought I'd walk away quietly, maybe beg for my job back when reality hit. But by securing one of his biggest clients, I had officially declared war. And Randall? He was not the type to lose without a fight. It started small. An email from Jackson and Company saying they'd received a counteroffer. One that significantly undercut our rates. Randall was slashing his prices, offering exclusive perks, and even throwing in free consulting hours just to get them back. Lisa was pacing in my tiny living room, phone in hand. Randall has never offered this kind of deal before. He's desperate. Michael, our top salesperson, frowned. Desperate people make dangerous moves. I exhaled, pressing my fingers against my temple. This was expected. I knew Randall wouldn't take the loss sitting down. Priya, our finance expert, tapped on her laptop. We can't afford to play this game. We don't have the financial backing to compete dollar for dollar with him. He was right. Nova Consulting was running on limited funds. Slashing our prices wasn't an option. But we had something Randall didn't. Trust. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mr. Jackson. He picked up on the second ring. Miss Carter, he greeted. I assume you've seen Randall's new offer? I have, I said. And I won't try to match it. Silence. Then a chuckle. You're not even going to try? No, because I don't need to, I replied. Randall slashed his prices because he knows he's losing you. And he'll keep undercutting as long as it takes just to crush us. But ask yourself, why did he never offer you this deal before? Is he never valued you? He's just scared of me. Another pause. Then a low hum. You make a good point, Jackson admitted. I'm not going to play his game. We both know that price is just one factor. With Nova you'll get priority service. You'll have a team that actually listens to you, that adapts to your needs. You won't just be another account number. You'll be our partner. There was a beat of silence, then Jackson let out a satisfied sigh. You've got yourself a deal, Hannah. Relief flooded my chest. The first battle was won. The next morning my phone blew up. Lisa's voice was sharp when she called. Randall's going for blood. What now? I asked, already bracing myself. He's telling people you stole company secrets. I clenched my jaw. That's a lie. Lisa scoffed. Of course it's a lie. But Randall's spreading it fast. He's warning clients not to work with you, saying you're using confidential data against him. Michael swore under his breath. Classic Randall. He can't beat us fairly, so he's trying to kill our reputation. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think. If Randall was spreading lies, I needed to get ahead of them. I called Jackson back. I assume you've heard the rumors? I have, he admitted. Randall's been busy. I sighed. If you have any concerns, I'm happy to address them. Jackson chuckled. I've known Randall for years, Hannah. He's a snake. I trust you. I exhaled, relief washing over me. But I knew not all potential clients would be as understanding. We had to control the narrative. Lisa came up with the idea. We go public, she said. We put out a statement. Something professional but firm. We acknowledged the rumors and shut them down before they spread further. Priya nodded. If we stay silent, people might assume we're guilty. So we crafted our message carefully. Nova Consulting is built on integrity and innovation. We believe in fair competition and ethical business practices. Recent false claims have been made against us, but we remain focused on delivering exceptional service to our clients. Our work speaks for itself. We posted it across our website, LinkedIn, and professional networks. And then we did something Randall didn't expect. We leaned into transparency. We started hosting live Q&A sessions, talking about our values, our commitment to clients, and our mission to redefine the industry. Instead of fighting Randall's accusations in the shadows, we made our story public. Clients started paying attention. They saw the way Randall operated, how he bullied, how he manipulated. And one by one they started reaching out. 2 weeks after launching Nova Consulting, I got a call from an unexpected source. Anderson and Bell, another of Randall's biggest clients. I had worked with them for years. They had always been loyal to Randall Enterprises, but lately I knew they weren't happy. Their CEO, Mr. Bell, wasted no time. Hannah, I like what I'm seeing from you. Randall's been arrogant for too long. We're thinking of making a change. My pulse quickened. We'd love the opportunity to work with you. Let's set up a meeting. This was it. If we landed Anderson and Bell, it would cripple Randall's revenue stream. Lisa grinned when I told her. If we get them, Randall's in real trouble. We spent the next 3 days perfecting our pitch. We didn't just offer a better deal. We offered something Randall never could. Direct access to leadership. No more being treated like just another client. Personalized strategies, instead of generic one-size-fits-all solutions. Agility, faster responses, more flexibility. When we walked into that meeting, we owned the room. By the end, Mr. Bell shook my hand. Welcome aboard, Hannah. As we left the building, my phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Randall just found out. He's losing his mind. I smirked. Good. Because this was just the beginning. Randall had ruled the industry like a king, sitting on his throne of arrogance, crushing anyone who dared to challenge him. He believed his empire was untouchable. But every king has a weakness. And I had just found his. 2 weeks after we secured Anderson and Bell, the cracks in Randall Enterprises were starting to show. Clients were leaving, not in droves yet, but steadily enough that Randall was feeling the pressure. His aggressive undercutting was costing him money, and rumors swirled that his investors were growing restless. But I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to dismantle him. And to do that, I needed to steal his most valuable asset, his people. Randall had always treated his employees like disposable tools. He overworked them, underpaid them, and took all the credit for their success. He ran his company like a dictatorship, not a team. That was his blind spot. And I planned to exploit it. Lisa, Michael, and I spent hours making a list of key employees at Randall Enterprises. People who were talented but underappreciated. People like David Carter, a senior strategist whose ideas were often stolen by Randall. Sophia James, a client relations manager who was overworked and constantly blamed for Randall's failures. Jeremy Liu, a tech expert who had developed some of Randall's best systems, without ever getting proper credit. They were the backbone of Randall's company. If we could lure them away, we wouldn't just weaken him, we'd cripple him. We started discreetly. Lisa and I set up casual coffee meetings, making sure nothing could be traced back to us. We didn't push too hard, just planted seeds of doubt. Lisa met with Sophia first. I'm guessing Randall hasn't given you a raise in years? Lisa asked, stirring her coffee. Sophia let out a bitter laugh. Try 5 years. Every time I ask, he says I should be grateful to have a job. Lisa leaned in. What if I told you there's a company that actually values its employees? Sophia blinked. Are you offering me a job? Lisa smiled. I'm offering you a way out. Sophia didn't need much convincing. She signed with Nova Consulting the next week. Next was David. I met him at a quiet bar after work. You're the real brains behind most of Randall's strategies, aren't you? I asked casually. David snorted. If you're asking whether he takes credit for my work, the answer is yes. I leaned forward. I want to build a company where people like you actually get the recognition and the rewards you deserve. He studied me for a long moment. Then he smirked. I'm in. By the time Jeremy Liu joined us, Randall knew something was wrong. He stormed into an emergency meeting at Randall Enterprises, slamming his fist on the table. Why the hell are people leaving? He roared. His senior managers looked at each other, uncomfortable. Well, one of them muttered, they're going to Nova Consulting. Randall's face turned red. Hannah Carter. He should have known. And I wasn't done. Randall was bleeding. Losing key employees wasn't just a morale issue, it was a financial disaster. These weren't random hires, they were his best people. Losing them meant his company was now struggling to function. Clients started complaining. Projects were delayed. Investors were asking questions. That's when I launched my final attack. We released a public announcement. We at Nova Consulting are excited to welcome some of the industry's brightest minds to our team. Our mission is to create a workplace where innovation, respect, and employee well-being come first. Welcome aboard, Sophia, David, and Jeremy. It wasn't just a hiring announcement. It was a message. A message to Randall's remaining employees. You don't have to stay in his sinking ship. There's a better place for you. The floodgates opened. More employees started resigning. Randall tried to stop them. He threatened lawsuits, tried to enforce non-compete clauses. But he couldn't stop the inevitable. His kingdom was collapsing. And I was the one holding the wrecking ball. Randall Enterprises had stood tall for years. A corporate giant that dominated the industry through intimidation, underhanded tactics, and sheer arrogance. But no empire lasts forever. And I had made sure of that. After we stole his top employees, Randall lost control. His projects fell apart. Clients grew restless. His investors started to panic. Lisa was the first to notice the cracks widening. Randall just sent a mass email to all employees, she said, scrolling through her phone. He's offering huge bonuses to anyone who stays for the next 6 months. Michael raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a sinking ship trying to plug the holes. I smirked. Exactly. But I knew Randall. He wouldn't go down without a fight. The next week, Randall played his last card. He called a press conference. I watched the live stream from my office, arms crossed, waiting for the spectacle. Randall stood at the podium, his usual arrogant smirk slightly forced. There have been false rumors spread about my company, he began. Certain disloyal individuals have attempted to sabotage our business by stealing employees and clients. I rolled my eyes. Classic Randall, blame everyone but himself. We are stronger than ever, he continued. And we have exciting new deals that will prove Randall Enterprises is still the best in the industry. The reporters didn't buy it. One of them, a sharp-looking woman in a gray suit, raised her hand. Mr. Randall, several of your key clients have already switched to Nova Consulting. Can you comment on why they're leaving? Randall's jaw clenched. Some clients don't appreciate loyalty, he said coldly. But we have plenty of new business coming in. Another reporter jumped in. And what about your employees? We've heard that many of your top executives have resigned in the last month. Is your company struggling? Randall forced a laugh. We are restructuring. I grinned. That's corporate talk for we're screwed. Randall's lies might have worked on the media, but his clients weren't fooled. A week after his press conference, the real bombshell dropped. One of Randall's largest clients, Weston Industries, terminated their contract. Lisa burst into my office, barely able to contain her excitement. They're leaving Randall. And guess who they want to work with? I leaned back in my chair smiling. Us. She nodded. Their CEO said they don't trust Randall anymore. They want Nova Consulting to take over their projects. This was huge. Weston Industries wasn't just a client. It was one of Randall's biggest revenue sources. Losing them was like a death sentence. By the end of the month, 2 more major clients followed. Randall was bleeding out. And we were thriving. The night I knew I had won, I received an unexpected call. Randall. I stared at my phone, debating whether to pick up. Lisa and Michael sat across from me in my office, watching. Are you really going to answer? Michael asked. Lisa smirked. Put him on speaker. I hit accept and leaned back. Randall. His voice was raw with anger. You think you're smart, don't you? I smiled. I think I played the game better than you. He let out a sharp breath. You've destroyed everything I built. No, Randall. You did that. I leaned forward. You treated employees like garbage. You overcharged clients and took them for granted. You underestimated me. You destroyed yourself. Silence. Then a bitter laugh. You're going to regret this. No, Randall, I said calmly. You're the one who's going to regret it. And then for the first time ever, Randall hung up first. A month later, Randall Enterprises officially collapsed. The headlines were brutal. Once a corporate giant, now a ruin. The downfall of Randall Enterprises. CEO Randall Pierce loses everything in stunning business failure. How a former employee took down her ruthless boss. His investors pulled out. His remaining employees fled. His company folded. Randall was ruined. And Nova Consulting? We were just getting started. Randall was finished. His company had collapsed. His investors had abandoned him. His empire had crumbled. But a man like Randall Pierce didn't just disappear quietly. And I should have known better than to think he'd accept defeat. Because while I had won the business war, Randall was about to make it personal. It started with small things I almost ignored. One morning, I stepped outside to find my car's tires slashed. Then a week later, someone tried hacking into our company's servers. Michael caught it in time, but the attempt was clear. Someone wanted to destroy us from the inside. Lisa was the first to say it. You know this is Randall, right? I hesitated. You think he'd go this far? Lisa crossed her arms. You humiliated him, Hannah. You didn't just beat him, you ruined him. Of course he wants revenge. I wanted to believe Randall was too proud to resort to petty sabotage. But I underestimated how dangerous a man with nothing left to lose could be. The real confirmation came 3 weeks after Randall's company collapsed. It was late at night and I was working late in the office. Everyone else had gone home. The only sound was the quiet hum of my computer as I finished reviewing a client proposal. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Did you really think this was over? A chill ran down my spine. I typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared. Then the next message came. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. Because soon you won't have anything left. I felt my pulse quicken. I knew it was Randall. He had lost the business war. But now he was starting a new war. One that wasn't fought with contracts and clients. One that was far more dangerous. I didn't have to wait long for Randall's next move. The very next day the police showed up at my office. I had just finished a meeting when Lisa rushed in, her face pale. Hannah, there are cops in the lobby. My stomach dropped. What? Michael appeared behind her. They say they have a warrant. I barely had time to react before 2 uniformed officers walked in, flanked by a man in a suit, an investigator. Ms. Carter, the investigator said, flipping open a file. Yes, I said cautiously. He handed me a document. We have reason to believe you've been involved in corporate espionage and fraud against Randall Enterprises. I stared at him, stunned. Excuse me. He nodded. A formal complaint has been filed that Nova Consulting illegally stole trade secrets from Randall Enterprises. We need you to come with us for questioning. Lisa gasped. Michael cursed under his breath. I exhaled slowly, my mind racing. This was Randall's play. He had lost the real fight, so now he was trying to destroy me with lies. And the worst part? Even if it wasn't true, an accusation like this could ruin my company's reputation. Randall wasn't trying to win. He was trying to burn everything to the ground. The police station was cold and sterile. The walls were gray, the air thick with the smell of stale coffee. I sat across from the investigator, my hands folded in my lap, my expression calm, even though my pulse was racing. Ms. Carter, the investigator said, flipping through his notes. Randall Pierce has provided evidence that you stole proprietary data from his company while recruiting his employees. I let out a sharp laugh. That's ridiculous. The investigator didn't react. According to him, several files containing client strategies went missing before his company collapsed. And now, similar strategies have appeared in your firm's proposals. My jaw clenched. We didn't steal anything. He raised an eyebrow. Then how do you explain this? He slid a USB drive across the table. I picked it up cautiously. What is this? A copy of an internal Nova Consulting file that was found in Randall's old database. The investigator leaned forward. Either someone from your company sent it to him, or he's telling the truth. I exhaled, forcing myself to stay calm. This was Randall's setup. He must have planted our data in his old files to make it look like we had stolen from him. It was a desperate move. A dirty move. But if I didn't fight back, this could destroy everything I built. I had 2 options. 1. Play defense. Spend months proving my innocence while my company suffered from the scandal. 2. Go on the attack and expose Randall before he could bury me. I chose option 2. As soon as I was released, I called Lisa and Michael to meet me at my apartment. I slammed the door shut behind me. We need to hit back. Now. Lisa frowned. How? I turned to Michael. How fast can you dig into Randall's financial records? Michael hesitated. I mean, if we get the right sources, I could pull some dirt. Why? I clenched my fist. Because Randall didn't just run a bad business, he ran a dirty one. And I guarantee there's something illegal in his past. Lisa's eyes lit up. You want to expose his crimes before his lies destroy us. Exactly. I nodded. Randall wants to ruin me? Fine. But I'm about to make sure he never gets up again. We spent the next 3 days digging. And what we found was worse than I ever imagined. Randall had been cooking his company's books for years, falsifying profits, hiding debts, and defrauding his investors. And the best part? Lisa found emails, direct evidence of him forging financial reports. This wasn't just a business scandal. This was criminal fraud. And the moment we had the proof, I made one phone call. To a reporter. Because if Randall wanted a war, I was going to end it. For good. Randall thought he had me cornered. He thought his false accusations would be enough to destroy my company, my reputation, and everything I had built. But what he didn't realize was this. I wasn't just fighting to clear my name. I was fighting to bury him forever. And when I struck back, I made sure he never got up again. The moment we gathered solid proof of Randall's financial crimes, I wasted no time. I sent the evidence to 3 places. 1. An investigative journalist. someone who specialized in uncovering corporate fraud. 2. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, because Randall's financial lies meant serious legal trouble. 3. The police, since fraud on this level wasn't just a business crime, it was a felony. And then I waited, because once the truth was out, Randall's days were numbered. It started with an article. Former CEO Randall Pierce accused of corporate fraud, millions of dollars in fake profits uncovered. The headline hit the news like a bomb. Within hours, the story spread across every major business network. Reporters dug deeper, investors panicked, and Randall's remaining supporters abandoned ship. Then the SEC made its move. They froze Randall's accounts. They opened an investigation. And suddenly, Randall wasn't coming after me anymore, because now the government was coming after him. I was in my office when the news broke. Lisa rushed in, her phone in her hand, eyes wide. "Hannah, turn on the news." I grabbed the remote and flipped to the business channel. And there was live footage of Randall Pierce being arrested outside his mansion. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Randall, in a tailored suit, looked pale and furious as 2 federal agents led him toward a waiting police car. Former CEO Randall Pierce has been arrested following allegations of financial fraud, corporate misconduct, and investor deception. I sat back in my chair, exhaling slowly. It was over. Randall was finished. And the man who once thought he was untouchable was now in handcuffs. With Randall out of the picture, what was left of his company collapsed overnight. His last investors pulled out. His clients abandoned him. His assets were seized. In less than a month, Randall Pierce's once mighty empire was nothing but ashes. And Nova Consulting? We thrived. Clients flooded to us, because in the end people wanted to do business with winners, not criminals. Lisa smiled as we watched the downfall unfold. "He underestimated you, Hannah." I smirked. "He underestimated the power of doing the right thing." Michael chuckled. "More like the power of revenge done right." I thought I'd never see Randall again. I was wrong. A month after his arrest, I was leaving my office late at night when I spotted a figure waiting near my car. Randall. His once proud suit was wrinkled. His face was tired. His confidence gone. I should have felt pity. But I didn't. He stepped forward, his voice rough. "You ruined me." I crossed my arms. "No, Randall. You ruined yourself." His jaw tightened. "You had a choice. You could have let it go." I scoffed. "Like you let me go when my mother was dying? Like you let your own employees suffer while you lied and stole?" He was silent. I shook my head. "You gave me an ultimatum, Randall. You forced me to choose between my job and my family." I walked away. And instead of moving on, you came after me. I took a step closer, meeting his gaze. "And you lost." Randall's fists clenched, but he said nothing. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. And just like that, Randall Pierce, the man who once thought he was invincible, was nothing but a memory. I stood in my office, looking out over the city skyline. Everything had changed. My company was stronger than ever. My employees were thriving. And most importantly, I had proven that doing the right thing wasn't just good ethics. It was good business. Lisa knocked on the door. "You ready for the celebration?" I smiled. "Absolutely. Because this wasn't just a victory. It was a new beginning. And I had earned every second of it." Revenge wasn't always about anger or destruction. Sometimes the sweetest revenge was simply living well, thriving in a way that made your enemies choke on their own regrets. And that's exactly what I did. Randall Pierce never recovered. After his arrest, his fortune vanished. His connections disappeared. His legacy became a cautionary tale in every business school. He tried to fight the charges, of course. But fraud doesn't just go away. The courts found him guilty on multiple counts. He was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for financial crimes. The man who once demanded loyalty from his employees was now scrubbing floors in an orange jumpsuit. With Randall gone, his clients came to us, one by one, company by company. Within a year, Nova Consulting wasn't just successful. We were the #1 firm in the industry. I expanded our operations, bringing in some of the best talent Randall had foolishly discarded. Even his most loyal executives, the ones who once laughed at my resignation, came knocking at my door begging for jobs. I hired some of them, Not out of pity but because they were good at their jobs. But I made one thing very clear. This isn't Pearson Company. You work here? You work with integrity. They nodded. They had no choice. After all, where else could they go? One evening I drove to a small rundown apartment on the edge of town. It was where Randall lived now, after the court seized everything he owned. I knocked on the door. A few moments later it creaked open. Randall stood there, unshaven and tired. He was wearing an old t-shirt, a stark contrast to the man who once wore $1,000 suits. He stared at me, his expression unreadable. "Hannah." "Randall." A long silence. Finally he asked, "Why are you here?" I smiled. "To say thank you." His eyes narrowed. "For what?" "For underestimating me." His jaw clenched. I took a slow step forward. "You forced me to choose, Randall. Between my mother and my job. And when I chose my family, you tried to ruin me." I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "But all you did was make me stronger." His breathing was heavy now, his hands curling into fists at his sides. I tilted my head. "Tell me, Randall, how does it feel? Watching me build an empire while you're left with nothing?" His face twisted in pure rage. But he didn't say a word. I let the silence stretch. Then I turned on my heel and walked away. As the truth was, I didn't need to destroy Randall anymore. Life had already done it for me. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.